Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjun also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of the Kurukshetra. Arjun surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently, this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjun, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or the other, we are put into asat. Asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist.
So now we have Prabhupada is explaining to us that why is there a need to read Bhagavad Gita? Why is the need for Bhagavad Gita to be spoken also? Why did Krishna speak this Bhagavad Gita? So here, why? Because we are in this material world and we are all in ignorance. We don't understand what's the truth. What is our true position? We do not understand what's our true identity. And because we are in this artificial atmosphere, each of us are faced with so many difficult situations at every moment. Each of us, the difficulties might be, sometimes it could be work related, sometimes it could be health related, sometimes it could be personal. There's so many, and so we need guidance. We need to know how to face these challenges. And so Arjuna was also at this point. He didn't know what to choose, what decision to make. And we also at every moment, we are forced to make decisions. But what should our decision be based on? So Bhagavad Gita helps us to take informed decisions. Krishna tells us, so you do like this, you're going to get this result. You do like this, you're going to get this result. He helps us to take informed decisions. And then here, Prabhupada is also telling us our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. What does that mean? What does it mean that our existence is based on non-existence? You mean this is all imaginary? Am I here? Am I not here? What's happening? Well, we are very much here. We are very much here. We are very much inside this material body. We are very much in this material world. But what is the illusion is that we think we are the body. We are not the body, but we are inside the body. So that means that our existence is eternal, but we are somehow put into asat. Means somehow or the other we are thinking, I'm the body. And because we think we are the body, we have so many designations. Man, woman, husband, wife, student, so many designations, everything related to the body. So just to give us the correct information of our identity, there is a great need to understand the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Is that all right? Is that okay? This asat, our existence is eternal, but somehow or the other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Nothing can exist without being connected to Krishna. If we think something has no connection to Krishna, that is asat. That is Maya. Maya means which does not exist. So if we just truly understand, then we will be able to understand that everything is connected to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. So Maya is just our covering, which makes us believe that things are separate from Krishna, that they don't belong to Krishna, that they don't have relation to Krishna. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are few who actually inquire about their position as to what they are put into, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on, unless One is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all sufferings. Then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa, Atho Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are the proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna.
So now what is our position? So we were saying last week that our position is like we bring a fish out of water and put him in a nice 7-star hotel and give him the best of the facilities. And then we are wondering, why is the fish suffering? We just have to put the fish back in the water. So similarly, we, the living entity, the soul, we are right now put inside this material atmosphere. And because we are put into this material atmosphere, we are suffering because we are spirit souls. We belong to the spiritual nature. So because of that, we are suffering. But many of us don't know. We don't know. Many of us don't even know suffering. I'm not suffering. Why do you say I'm suffering? I'm just having my normal life. Many of us don't know we are suffering. Now, there are a few of us who begin to inquire that, why am I suffering? What's going on? I want to be happy all the time, but somehow or the other, it's like, somebody's continuously throwing these sufferings at me and I'm continuously have to dodge them, beat around them. Sure, I get a break once in a while, but these are just being like thrown at me one after another. And so let me try to understand, how can I permanently put an end to the suffering, not just like a temporary relief. Let me try to find out, what is it? What could I do? Like when we have fever, we want to take a medicine so the fever goes away. But if it keeps coming back, we're going to say, oh, what's wrong? What's happening? Let me try to make a solution to it. So now when we begin to understand, I don't want to suffer. Why should I be suffering? I want to be happy all the time. And then I begin the inquiry. This is what Bhagavatam says, that human life begins from this point. That Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And Bhagavatam says, till the time we don't come to this point, then we are called a two-legged animals. What? Two-legged animal? How can you call a human being an animal? I'm not an animal. I'm sophisticated. I have sophisticated way of doing things. But what Bhagavatam says, that our sophistication of doing things then is just like eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And those activities, even an animal does that. So what makes the difference? What is the difference then? Eating in a more polished manner, sleeping in a more polished manner, or mating in a more polished manner, defending in a more polished manner? Is that the difference? No, it's because because in animal form of life, we do not have the intelligence to understand that, why am I suffering and how can I put an end to it? It's only in human life can we do that. And that's the reason Bhagavatam says that humanity begins with this sort of inquiry. Because of this, then we are actually using the intelligence which is given to a human being. Okay? So, and therefore, one who begins to question that, why am I suffering? Where did I come from? And where shall I go after death? So we all know we are not in this body eternally. There is an expiry date for the body that we are in right now. But where am I going to go after I leave this body? And then once we have this kind of inquiry, then we are considered proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. Means we are really trying to understand what is this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Let me see, can it help me to make this permanent solution to my inquiry? And then also what is required of us is that as a student, we should have sincerity and respect. We should have sincerity in the heart to understand the truth, to find out the truth, and also respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Respect for the Supreme Lord. He's the Supreme Lord after all. And Arjuna, he is sincere. He was very sincere, and he had the highest respect for the Supreme Lord. So we could continue reading. Can anyone read, please?
Lord Krishna descends specifically to reestablish the real purpose of life. When man forgets that purpose, even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all swallowed by the tigress of the neuroscience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student.
So why did Krishna leave behind these most important instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita? Why? It's for us, for people like us, because he knew Kali Yuga is coming. So, and where would we get the instruction from? He wanted to leave behind firm instructions for us. How would we get the guidance from? That's the reason he spoke Bhagavad Gita. And so by speaking Bhagavad Gita, he is giving us his mercy, his causeless mercy. It is out of his compassion that we are all in ignorance. We don't know what's happening. And Kali Yuga is especially a dark age where the ignorance is so much more. So out of Krishna's causeless mercy, he has left behind his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. He left behind the Srimad Bhagavatam so that we can get light. We can get the light of knowledge from these scriptures, and we may be able to understand what is our real purpose. Why am I here? What am I doing here? How do I get out of here? What is my true position? Who am I truly? So this is the reason Krishna spoke. And Arjuna, he spoke to Arjuna because Arjuna is his friend. So Arjuna has the qualification to understand such important instructions. Arjuna is sincere, he has respect for the Lord, and he is willing to receive the knowledge. He's not closed himself up. And that's how he's able to receive the knowledge. So we also, if we want to understand the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we have to open our hearts to receive the knowledge, and then we will be able to understand it. But if we close ourselves and say, I know everything, what is there, then how will we receive anything? So this is the spirit of entering into the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Would anybody like to comment?
Opening,
put any questions?
Yeah, I just want to ask one question. So you mentioned that we should open our heart. So then opening the heart means that what we see, we should make an inquiry and accept what we learn. And is it that what you're saying, right? As you just said, we should open our heart.
Yeah, that what we are trying to learn, try to, how can I apply what am I learning?
Apply in life, okay.
Yeah, what is being said? Well, let me try to see, think about it, see, like churn it. What you say, like get deeper into the meaning. What is trying to be said here? Let me try to understand, because many of us say, I don't want to, we block our minds. We say, oh, okay, whatever, I know better. This is not this, I know much more than this. But instead of that, if we try to say, let me sincerely like to try to hear what is being said. Let me try to understand what's being said. Let me see how can I apply this knowledge to myself. then we will be able to enter into the mystery of the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Did anyone else have any questions or comments? Like we read about the suffering of the human beings, the temporary nature of this material world, that the asat, we are in the asat right now, and that human life begins with the inquiry, who am I? And then Lord Krishna is specifically, he comes to give us this knowledge, the real purpose of life, to make us understand who we truly are. Why are we here? Why are we suffering? He comes personally. He's coming personally to give us this knowledge. That is his causeless mercy. That shows how much he loves us. So Bhagavad Gita is, we can see, it's like a parent. You know, when a child is naughty, and so the parent is going to give good instructions to the child. Why? Because the parent loves the child. He wants the child not to suffer, but he wants the child to be happy. Hey, don't put your hand in the fire, you're going to get burned. You know, such things like that. Oh, you're standing next to the balcony too close, you might run off there. You know, you might fall down. Don't do that. So why is the child, a parent giving these instructions? Because he cares for the child. So by speaking the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has spoken it and is left behind with us. And it is an evidence of his love for each and every one of us. Yeah. So you could read this one, no?
Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance, but Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord would explain them for the benefit of the future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then men could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life.
So Arjuna, he's a pure devotee of the Lord. He's Krishna's friend. So how could he be in ignorance? How come he's putting up all these questions? But Krishna puts Arjuna into ignorance. Why? Just so that Arjuna can make these inquiries. Why? So that the Lord can speak the Bhagavad Gita. Why? To leave for us these instructions. Each of us is faced with these problems of life at every moment. And so that's the reason Krishna put Arjuna into illusion, so that he gets a chance to speak about the Bhagavad Gita. We can see that Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. And that was just when Krishna spoke to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. But Krishna said he spoke it even millions of years ago to Vivaswan. And it is prevalent in the human society since 2 million years. So which book of knowledge is being studied since 2 million years? You know, which book is that? Okay, I know there are few books which are famous for a few years, maybe even 100 years, maybe even a few thousand years, but Bhagavad Gita has been spoken and studied since millions of years. Why? Because it is speaking of the truth. It is speaking of the truth. So it's relevant. It was relevant then, it is relevant now, and it is very much relevant in the future. That how we can perfect our life. If we follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then we can perfect our life. Perfect our life too, and we will be able to understand who am I truly, who is God, and what is my relationship with God. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Any comments? Anything to add?
No. Okay.
If no, then we'll stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare